Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Ashe support updated complete guide, and honestly nothing has really changed from the last time we covered Ashe support, like before patch 4.4. like I think I was like patch 4.3 like C or something like that. We covered Ashe support, and since then, which is a long time ago, nothing much has really changed about Ashe support. So I'm gonna of course get into the items, the runes, and the spells. But of course, as usual, don't forget to check out Ashe's basic guide that I'll link up in the cards above for her skills, leveling order tips and tricks, as well as some combos. But without further ado, let's jump into our items. So of course, being a support, you need to buy a support item. Now over here you have, technically you have all three choices. It kind of really depends on which choice you personally prefer. Of course, Ashe pokes a lot, so you can go for Sickle. But I prefer Relic Shield personally because I like getting like that extra bit of health, and also I just like being able to control the wave better with Relic Shield. Of course, Ancient Coin works as well to basically just do nothing and just, you know, stack it for free as long as your ADC kills minions. So any option for a support item is fine. First item you're going to go for is Lucidity Boots. Why? Ashe support mainly hinges on you spamming W, right? You spam W to slow, you spam W to poke, you spam W to proc your mandate. So basically you want as much ability haste as possible. You always want to go for Lucidity Boots, basically. So for the enchant, you can pretty much get it either as early as you want to, or you can get it a bit later on. But it's basically the normal like support options. You of course have your Locket. For the team-wide shield, you of course have your redemption for the team-wide heal. Of course, you can't really go for this. So it's basically between those two. Of course, if you want to go a little bit more selfish, you could go for like a stasis or something to survive. This is rarely ever good though, because generally whatever utility you can give to your team from Locket and from redemption is going to be better than going for stasis, because even if you do manage to survive, it's not really a priority, because Ashe, honestly, on Ashe support, unless your team is hard stomping, you are gonna die quite a bit, because you don't forget you have no mobility at all. You're just like kind of like full utility. You only have flash as a safety tool, so you're gonna be dying quite a bit. But it's not really very important, because after all, you just want to support your team. So yeah. So next up, we're going to go into the actual items. So first item is going to be Imperial Mandate. This is basically the core item for Ashe support. This is what makes Ashe support work. So basically the important part here is, of course, you have your health, you have your ability haste. Ability haste is, again, to spam your W. Ability power actually increases the damage of your ulti, but that's not really what's important. The important part is the coordinated fire passive. So whenever you slow anyone down, you will deal additional magic damage and give them a mark. So when your allies prompt this mark, they will once again apply extra magic damage and, you know, grant movement speed to basically both you and your ally. So the reason why this is very helpful is, of course, number one, you're already going to apply the poke with the damage, and of course when your ally procs it, both of you get additional damage, and of course they have already been slowed. So as a result, you know, you're gonna get a lot of extra movement speed, and you not only gain movement speed, but you slow them down at the same time. So basically there's a huge differential in terms of the movement speed between you and your opponents, which is always good. So next up is your second core item is gonna be Mana Immune. So Mana Immune, of course, you need to stack it up. So you can actually go for tier earlier. So sometimes I go for boots into tier before I go for Imperial Mandate, because you can't get Mandate before Dragon anyway since you're going for boots. So sometimes I go boots into tier, then into Mandate, and of course Mana Immune later on. So Mana Immune serves a couple of purposes. Firstly, you get a lot of mana, because Ashe spams a lot, so you need the mana. Secondly, increases your poke on your W, of course, which is of course very crucial. And lastly, which is the least important one, is it does of course increase the damage of your auto attacks and such. And what is really important though is that it gives ability haste, which once again every item in our build pretty much you know, gives us ability haste. So your last two items is going to be very situational. So the kind of default last two items here I have are Iceborne Gauntlet and Cosmic Drive. So Iceborne Gauntlet gives you, of course, health, armor, of course, really important, mana, which is going to convert to damage on Mana Immune, 30 ability haste, once again, which is huge, and of course, you get your Spellblade passive, which is not only going to increase the damage you do, but it's also going to come out the slow field. Now, the slows don't stack in Wild Rift, so what's the use of having the slow field? Well, basically, instead of just slowing them for a few seconds on your passive, you're going to slow them for a whole field as well. And of course, if you happen to auto-attack one person, you do have to slow on them, but the slow field is going to work on everyone else around them as well. So it's, of course, going to work out really well. And then we have Cosmic Drive here. Now, Cosmic Drive here honestly is purely for the ability haste. You get 30 ability haste. At this point in time, if you ever reach full build, you can spam your Q like every 2 seconds or so, and you can spam your ulti as well. Your ulti is going to be like below 20-second cooldown at this point. And of course, ability power of course increases the damage of your ulti. And of course, the extra movement speed also helps as well. But the main point here is the ability haste. But I said the last 2 items are situational. So what other items can you build? It really depends on what the team needs. As an Ashe support, you basically just build whatever the team needs. So for example, enemy team, very tanky. What do? You build a Black Cleaver. What does Black Cleaver do? Well, of course it gives you ability haste, gives you health. AD is nice but not important. It shreds the armor of the enemy team, stacking up to 6 times for a total of 24% reduction. So of course when Ashe presses her Q, this is going to just shred the enemy instantly just from one auto attack. So you just basically attack enemy A once, then attack enemy B, then attack enemy C to just proc the Black Cleaver on all of them and make it easier for your team to kill. Enemy team has too much healing. What do? You build a Maul Reminder to cut their healing. Of course, you could also go for Kempang Chainsword if you prefer, but I think Maul Reminder is better because you also get AD and Armor Pen for yourself, which is always good. Enemy team, too much shields. Well, Serpent's Fang, of course, gives you the shield reduction. Of course, other nice stats as well. Enemy team, full of attack speed champions. They have an ADC, of course. They have a Senna support. They have a Yasuo in the mid lane. They have a Olaf in the jungle. All attack speed. What do? You build Frozen Heart. What does Frozen Heart do? Reduces the enemy attack speed whenever, of course, you apply the stacks of Chill onto them, right? So finally, your last 2 options, a little bit more quirky options, but you can actually go for Ardent or Staff of Flowing Water because you can prompt this off of the healing from Font of Life. So those are just options, but personally, I have never actually ever gone for them, so I don't really recommend it, but it is, of course, there. So when it comes to your runes, so what do you go for? Well, I've seen some Ashe supports just go for Airy to increase the poke, which I don't really like because I don't think that's too important. And I've also seen Glacial. So why do you need Glacial? Like Glacial, of course, gives them a 20% slow, which your passive already gives. So you're wasting the 20% slow completely. How about those icy zones? Well, you can only prompt that on your ulti, but they're already stunned. The icy zones are not really going to help. Of course, it's going to help a little bit against their team, but it really isn't going to help that much. What is going to help though is the damage reduction on champions, because of course the raise will reduce the damage that they do by 12%, which does matter, but overall I just think that it's not worth it, not worth going for. So I think the best option here is actually Fleet Footwork. So Fleet Footwork of course gives you a heal and movement speed whenever you proc it. So why is this even good on Ashe? Well, basically, when you're playing Ashe support, what you want to do in lane is you actually just want to walk up and auto attack because you have a lot of extra range as Ashe support, and this allows you to actually walk up and just attack a lot for free. So this is going to allow you to attack, run away using Fleet Footwork, attack, run away, and of course if you've taken poke or damage, you can heal back up using Fleet Footwork as well. So this is, in my opinion, the best rune. Of course, being a support, you want to be taking Font of Life for healing for your allies. Then, of course, you have Bone Plating to protect yourself a little bit. And, of course, Overgrowth as well to, of course, gain health over time to, of course, try to survive. And lastly, you have 2 options for your Minor Rune. First option is Cheap Shot. So now, of course, we can see damage from runes now. And Cheap Shot actually does a really good amount of damage over time. It's actually quite surprising. I did not expect Cheap Shot to be doing so much damage over time, but it really does. So Cheap Shot, despite having like a whole 7-second cooldown, is actually doing quite a bit of damage. So Cheap Shot does matter for the poke purposes. So if you don't want Cheap Shot, then your other option is simply going to be Transcendence, because Transcendence basically just gives you a lot of extra ability haste. And of course, that's pretty much the name of the game with Ashe support. Personally, I prefer Cheap Shot, so that's what I take. And Summoner Spells, of course, you go for Flash, and you go for either heal or, you might need to go for Exhaust sometimes if your ADC doesn't have Exhaust and they are Assassins, but generally heal is the default option. So all that out of the way, we can finally move on to talking about our gameplay. Okay, now so on to the gameplay. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll be, of course, sure to address them. A little bit of issues trying to choose which support item I wanted in the base, and then I got the control ward, and I realized that my ADC already had one, so I'm changing back to the normal ward. But okay, so now something really interesting to preface this gameplay, which I feel is pretty important when watching. So it looks like the whole game, it looks like I'm doing nothing, which is a lot of the times what Ashe support looks like. It just looks like she's doing nothing majority of the time. Of course, unless you're hitting your arrows non-stop, then it looks like you're really useful. But if not, your main utility is vision from your E, of course. and your like slows from your like passive, and also a little bit of poke from your W, of course also applying the slow. So pretty much majority of the time, Ashe support just looks like she's doing nothing. But she's actually doing something, and she's actually really useful. So to preface, I've actually gotten an S rating in this particular game. So just look at what an S rating Ashe looks like. It looks like she's doing nothing. So of course I'm going to explain to you guys exactly what I'm actually doing. But again, it looks like I'm not really doing anything. And my KDA, I think I ended up with like 1 kill and 5 deaths or something like that. So it just looks like I was feeding, it looks like I was doing nothing. But in reality, Ashe support was doing a lot. So of course, it starts off with the laning phase. We have a double poke lane here with Ashe and Varus. Now, Ashe support is actually not even that good in lane. Why? Because Ashe support needs to spam her W. At the start of the game in lane, you have no ability haste, so you can't spam your W. So you can only like use your W every once in a while, which is, of course, you know, not the best because you can't spam that. So what you can really only do is to walk up and auto attack. So in this particular case, of course I outrange Kai'Sa, and of course Leona has like no range at all, so I can pretty much just walk up and auto attack when I want like this, proc my fleet footwork, walk away. As long as I don't get engaged on by Leona, I should be fine. And that's pretty much the only thing I have to worry about. I don't really have to worry about Kai'Sa. I only need to really worry about this basically. Leona engages on. Leona already used all of her CC here, so honestly Kai'Sa was a little bit too late, and we actually end up you know, being pretty even on the trade. You can see afterwards, I'm actually able to get off like 2 more auto attacks and a W onto Leona, which pretty much evens out the trade. Leona re-engages onto me, and I'm gonna have to flash away here. I surprisingly survive on 1 HP, and Kai'Sa auto targets the Ezreal, question mark, because I'm pretty sure that was meant for me. So already, okay, this is a little bit egregious because I got caught by Leona twice here, which is of course not good whatsoever. So here you can already see the first use of the hawk shot to kind of just check you know, what's going on. So we can see the enemy blue side is kind of up. I didn't really go right over the blue buff, so you can't really see that, but we know the enemy blue side is up, so you know that the jungler is likely to be in this side of the map, because majority of the time junglers like to of course full clear their jungle on their first clear one way or the other. So we of course want to watch out for that. So another issue with Ashe is she's kind of not really an enchanter, but she's also obviously not really a tank, right? So she can't really tank damage. She can engage with her ulti, of course. But you can see here that because of that, like, I'm not an enchanter. I can't shield him, I can't heal him, and basically it just like if my Ezreal gets engaged on, like what you just saw there, basically the only thing I can really do here is to just attack them, and that's not really gonna do anything because I'm just gonna tickle them, and of course I don't have my ult yet, so I can't peel for him with my ulti. So all I can really do is just attack, and that's really one of the weaknesses of Ashe support, which is she's actually relatively weak in the earlier stages of the game before you get any items. You can't spam your W, you don't have utility from the Imperial Mandate, and you basically don't really do much. You need a little while to kind of scale a little bit before you can really do you know, anything meaningful. And of course this leads to my next weakness of Ashe support, which is you are relatively useless when you are behind. So when you're behind, you're basically just a squishy ADC with no mobility, and you can basically just end up feeding, and you're just free food for enemy assassins or like anyone fed on the enemy team, right? So that's kind of the issue. So of course if you are a hit though, she is incredibly oppressive because you can get, of course, cross-map stuns, you can, of course, just get point-blank stuns, you can just attack someone and just run them down. They cannot escape, especially after you have gotten your Imperial Mandate and you have someone there, of course, to proc it for you. Of course, you're not going to run them down 1v1, but assuming you have anyone with you, they're not going to escape because you slow them down, you speed up your ally and yourself, you slow them down, you speed up your ally and yourself. There's no way they're getting away. So if you're a hit, Ashe support is really, really oppressive. With the W spam and with the slows and speed ups, that sort of thing. But if you're behind, she's kind of useless, honestly. She's kind of useless when you're behind. When you're even, it's still alright, but when you're behind, she is just pretty bad. So that's kind of the biggest weakness of Ashe support, which is like when you're behind, she is relatively useless. You need at least one person on your team to be a hit in order for you to help support them. So you really, if your whole team is feeding, there's not much you can do, right? But if you have at least one person that you can really support and peel for, or like help them get catches, then that's what we're really looking for. Speaking of getting catches, Fizz the jungler overextends, and I'm able to get a huge ult onto him, and we secure the kill on him right at the dragon fight. So of course, This means that this dragon should pretty much be ours. But if you guys saw on the minimap briefly, the Yasuo, enemy Yasuo, is actually on the Herald by himself. Because he obviously has huge priority, you know, against Malphite, and Malphite is just struggling to clear the wave here. And I think Yasuo's probably going to get the Herald, or Fizz might actually come back and get the Herald before we have a chance to get there. He does actually get the Herald for himself. So overall, we kind of traded Dragon for Herald, which, as I always say, is not really the best trade in the world. So here I'm just helping Ezreal to push in a little bit. Of course, you know, as a support, you can't really steal their CS anyway, so here we're just going to quickly push in and we're just going to get some tower damage. So here, of course, I know Fizz and Leona are coming, but Ezreal doesn't really want to leave, and anyway, he kind of just gets destroyed, essentially, by the Fizz. So, nothing much I could really do there. Honestly, even if I hit that arrow, he's still going to die anyway, because there's like 3 people there. I can only really arrow 1 person, so really nothing I can do, and this is kind of the situation that you find yourself in as a Ashe support a lot of the time. Of course, you're not like a Lulu, you can't shield him, you can't ult him or anything like that. You're not, you know, like Alistar who can shove someone away or anything like that. You're just, you know, you have different strengths and weaknesses than other supports, of course, and that's why I think Ashe support is really, really unique. So here I'm getting dive, I'm trying to flash away, I'm trying to just survive, and honestly, really good dive by the enemy team, because they both managed to juggle the aggro really well. Leona juggled it until she could not, and then Kai'Sa took the aggro and they both survived, and they did manage to kill me under tower 3v1. Of course, the 3v1 tower dive is not very difficult to pull off, but a lot of teams, especially in solo queue, end up botching it, and because of that, they actually end up donating 1 kill over, which basically means you 3v1 tower dive and you trade it 1 for 1, which would be horrendous. But here, good job by the enemy team on the dive. And here, I'm going to actually rotate mid to help out my Zeri, because the enemy bot lane has basically rotated mid. I'm a little bit too late though, and Zeri does end up just dying anyway. Either way, being mid is good because there's 4 people mid, and without me here, they're just going to get a free tower. So Ezreal does actually end up rotating mid as well, and Malphite looks like he's also on the roam. So here I'm just checking what's going on. They're basically just all standing around there. Here I'm just getting a little bit of free poke onto the Diana. No big deal here. And of course I'm pinging danger to Malphite, because we can see that the enemy team is all on the top side river, which basically means that they could be roaming to top. Leona was actually kind of on her way, but Malphite, of course, wisely backing off. So nothing too much is happening. So in the meanwhile, Ezreal should be actually pushing this tower and getting the entire tower, because the enemy team is all mid slash top side, like this here. So here, I actually tried to check there with my W, but the mistake I made here was I did really good by checking with W, but the mistake is that even when I saw an enemy there, I did not just walk away. I continued walking where I was walking, and that was just really stupid, because obviously that gives Leona a really free angle to just land all of her CC. Yasuo just kills me, and now my team is in a fight. There's multiple low HP bars. Ezreal picks up the kill on Diana. Of course, Yasuo is already dead. So far, it's a 2-for-2 trade. And the fight is really, really extended. Kai'Sa now coming in on the back end, kills the Ezreal. Zeri ult comes in, tries to kill Leona and Kai'Sa. Zeri's trying her best, but she's really low. Really good burst damage onto the Kai'Sa. Now I'm back from the grave, and Zeri does end up going down. Now here, I'm trying to finish off the Kai'Sa. We can see the healing from Kai'Sa is insane. She actually gets me from full health to like a quarter health, and Fizz just comes in and finishes off the kill. Now honestly, I was really greedy to just not ult her, because I thought that 1 or 2 auto attacks would just kill her, but the healing that she got, assuming just based off of her rune, the Omnivamp rune, because she doesn't have any healing in her kit at all, it was actually enough to just keep her alive. Why? Because Ashe support does no damage at all. That's the reason why. So I should just ulted her in the face and just call it a day, and because of that I lose 3/4 of my health, and I'm able to be finished up by Fizz. If I ulted her instantly, I think I would have just instant killed her, and I could have just backed off at like full health. So obviously that was a mistake made by me, because I underestimated how tanky the Kai'Sa was. But yeah. So you can see here that at this point, remember, S rating Ashe gameplay. I'm 1-3-2 in the early game. Pretty far behind. And yeah, so all I have now is another death apparently. So here I'm able to actually get off my ulti and a little bit of my slows before I die. So this of course sets up my team to possibly try to turn it around. Unfortunately though, it looks like that's not going to be Zeri, because she ends up burning to the ground. and the enemy team is in a really strong position. So now Malphite here now is a little bit tilted. He's building full tank, but he's decided to basically just go on a split push journey, which is not very helpful, because if you're a full tank Malphite and you're not with your team, it's kind of a waste. But anyways, he does manage to actually get the tower, so there is at least something there. And here, one of the key things you want to do as Ashe support is you want to do this kind of play. So you send an arrow straight down mid, and if you hit someone, they generally die. So here I was just aiming the arrow, which is why I was not walking. But unfortunately, Fizz barely dodges the arrow, and unfortunately, I do not hit the arrow. But anyways, the arrow cooldown is really not that long. If you take a look at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, half of the cooldown is already back. So when you get like a little bit of ability haste, of course with your boots and also with the Imperial Mandate, the cooldown is relatively short. So I almost have my ult cooldown back up already, as I was just explaining the ult. And at this point right now, my ult is already back up, right? So it's a really short cooldown. You just want to pretty much just use it at every available opportunity to just, of course, CC someone with it. Speaking of which here, we do get the stun onto the Leona, which is not really the ideal target, but our whole team already dies. And honestly, we had no reason to even be there. I had no idea why we were all just at the bot side. Like, there was no tower to take, there was nothing really to do, but we just basically just all walked there just to die. And you can see that now it's a really tricky situation, because my team is now 6 kills to 18, we're 36k goal, or 37k goal to 42k goal, we're like 5k goal behind the enemy team. And that's no good, because obviously, as I mentioned, when you're behind on Ashe support, it is pretty bad. So let's see how we kind of salvage the situation here. So we respawned again. Now we're 1 in 5, already. So 12 minutes into the game, that's of course pretty bad. But let's see, what we can do in the situation. So here I was actually looking for another arrow down mid, but because Echo was recalling, he was obviously not interested in the fight. So I wasn't ready to commit the arrow, because obviously he didn't want to fight there. So Leona ult does go in, and here you can see I'm just pretty much just hitting my W's and my autos on whoever I can. The Diana goes in. I'm able to actually dodge the ulti, and Zeri is now starting to pop off. She gets a triple, and ends up dying to Kaisa eventually after that, but does pick up quite a bunch of kills. So now at this point, as an Ashe support, you have to evaluate who is your win condition here. So you take a look at the situation here. Obviously, Malphite is a tank. He's not the win condition. Echo is only at 1 item. He's not the win condition. So it's either Ezreal or Zeri. But you just look at what happened to Ezreal here. We can see that from Ezreal in lane just dying, and he was just pinging me. And the fact that he's pinging me means that he doesn't even know how Ashe support works. And the fact that he just did this play where it was so obvious that Fizz was just waiting for his cooldowns to kill one or both of us, right? So he was obviously just waiting for his cooldowns, and Ezreal eat forward, his only safety tool, because of course he has flash, but his only safety tool in his kit, he eat forward, and obviously he can't kill the Fizz, and the Fizz kills him instead. So obviously Ezreal should not be my win condition, because he's just not a very good player. Like, in terms of KDA and all, I mean, KDA he's doing really bad, but in terms of just like the item state and all, he's not doing too bad, right? Because he has 2 full items, and he's building now toward his Death Cat. It's not doing too bad, but obviously Zeri here is my win condition. She has the most gold on my team. She's shown that she can play well, and she's now like 2 items plus into her build, right? She has Bloodthirster, she has Runans, 2 of Zeri's core items, and she's now going for a Maul Reminder, and she's actually just completed her Maul Reminder here, right? So Zeri is my win condition. So now what I want to do is I need to play around my win condition. Now what does that mean? Basically it means that I have to, of course, protect her, heal her with my heal, stun anyone who's trying to come for her, or maybe just set her up for getting more kills. That's mainly what I want to do. I want to play around my win condition. So here you can see a fight's breaking out. I'm checking where's my Zeri. There's my Zeri. I tried to arrow, but it goes into the wind wall. But either way, I'm just here, again, just using the Ashe utility, slowing people down, getting the movement speed to my teammates. Zeri picks up a triple, going for the Quadra, and does she get it? She does not? Yeah, I believe she does not. But anyways here, even so with that, we can actually go for the Baron. Now here, I'm really low, so I'm going to actually get this health bar. So now what I'm trying to do here is I'm actually trying to walk closer to the Baron, so the Baron will actually focus me instead of Zeri. But Zeri is literally standing on top of the Baron, so that's impossible. So I'm just going to stand behind them, stand away instead. Because whoever tanks the Baron, the main tanker of the Baron, will do half damage. So I don't want that to be Zeri, I want it to be me. But Zeri did not really give me a choice in this situation because she basically just stood right next to the Baron, and there's no way I could get any closer than where she was to the Baron. So here I pick up my Locket, of course, to help protect my team against the enemy team. Of course, this is really useful, especially like, you know, if there's a Diana out or something like that. So here we're just trying to finish off this dragon, which we do manage to do before the enemy team actually comes. And here now we have, of course, the Baron. I'm just using my vision to check who is actually there. It's actually just Kaisa. Fizz is currently farming his blue buff. So here, Ezreal backs off. Good idea. I'm just trying to quickly push out this wave before I back off. Which I do manage to do, but of course with Ezreal and Fizz possibly in the area, I don't really want to walk up any further. So Fizz was right there waiting, as you guys briefly saw. So here I'm getting the cross-map arrow onto the Yasuo, and I'm surprised that Echo just didn't go for the kill. Instead, Zeri hops the wall, kills off the Yasuo, and now I'm making my way over to this fight. Now Fizz has actually recalled and now is joining his team for the fight. Here I'm just gonna go for this mid lane tower. We should be able to get it really easily, which we do. And now it's a full-on 5v5, or rather it's a 5v4 because Yasuo is actually not around. Diana tries to go in. I try to arrow the Diana before she escapes, but she actually is able to just escape, and then I arrow her when she's behind tower. So here Fizz and Kaisa are both in stasis. Now here, everyone's dead except me and Zeri, but Zeri is my win condition. I know we can win this. I'm popping everything. I pop my Locket. I pop my heal here to heal the Zeri, and Zeri doesn't even seem to take damage. Like I guess the support from Ashe together with like Zeri's healing, like from her Bloodthirster, is just too much for the enemy team to handle, and Zeri basically just kills all of them. So here, just gonna clear out this top wave to get the push into the top lane. Now here's just Yasuo trying to defend. He already wind wall, so I know I can arrow him and he won't be able to wind wall it, which is what I was trying to really bait out. So I'm just trying to aim my arrow. Unfortunately, I whiffed the arrow, but it's okay because for some reason he decides to ult me, and for some reason his ult doesn't even do damage, which is really weird. Like, why did he do no damage to me there? But anyways, him ulting me basically CC'd himself, allowed my 2 damage dealers to finish the kill on him, and we are able to actually win the game off of just playing off of our Zeri. And as I mentioned, this is an S gameplay on Ashe support, believe it or not, even though it looked like I was just feeding. So anyways, I'm going to leave you guys with the rest of the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.